So this is the third video of the day, and the third video on my new radio and different speakers. This video is quite a special one because and this is the most interesting one, this is actually me showing you what's inside of the radio and the speakers. So first of all, I'm going to remove this side panel, which is this screw, and a screw back there. And we're in. And this is quite fascinating. You can see inside of this unit, we have the main board way back there, a very small transformer with another transformer on top of it for who knows why reason, a tape player, and the reason why this doesn't work is the drive belt on tape 2 is broken. The drive belt on tape 1 has been stretched out way far and is loose and isn't turning all the other components. And next, what I'm going to do is remove this screw right there and that screw way over there, which will remove the top panel so you can see the CD changer. And now it just goes up, and it takes a little bit of technique to get this off. There we go. Sorry for the shaky camera there. Anyhow, here's the CD changer. And what this has been doing is either skipping or not is either skipping tracks, skipping, or not reading the CD at all. The reason why is under this part there's a laser lens that reads the discs. And this laser is dirty or busted, and it's either not reading them, or it's skipping parts of the CD, or it's skipping tracks. And what needs to be happened is that needs to be replaced. And I'm not going to replace that, so for me it's just broken until I can get somebody to replace that laser, which probably will never happen. Also on the board, we have, on the board up here, we have lots of integrated circuitry in that board. That square-shaped one up there looks to be something like a microcontroller for all the buttons and stuff like that, like for the board. And pretty much down here we have wires leading to the motor for the tape player. It's very small and flimsy. Everything's made of plastic in the tape player. Not a very good tape player, I would say. Especially because it doesn't work right now. And pretty much that's what's inside of one of these compact stereo units, which is what they call them. But they don't seem very compact. Also, in the back, all those transistors are for amplifying. On the other side of the board, I've removed the panel. It's identical to the one on this side right here. And there's lots of surface-mounted components, which is really weird because this was made in 2000 and they didn't have a lot of that back then. So pretty much, it's a very high technology, high-tech amp, and all those transistors are for amplifying the signal, and there's a heatsink, which is a piece of metal that they're glued on to help heat, to help it prevent it from overheating. And pretty much there's no actual amplifier chip in this. Instead, they just have that transistor amplifier stage, which is much harder to build. So that's pretty much the surprise in this. Now let's put this back together and move over to the speaker. Okay, so these speakers back then had two speakers up here. One of them acted as a back surround, and this was a three-way front surround. This acted as a kind of surround sound, so like if there's a noise coming from in back, it would come from over here. If there's a noise coming up from front, it would come over here. So, basically, if there was a car going by, it would go like across the speaker. And it didn't really surround you with sound that well. I mean, it wasn't very good technology. And pretty much, if we take this apart, you'll see it's pretty much bi-wired. And that's how they do that. But what's basically happening in here is this front panel is lightly glued on, and it's basically just gonna come off. I should actually be turning that upside down because there's a lot of fragile wires that'll break if you don't do it that way. And pretty much that's what's inside of that panel. You've got the speaker in the middle too, which works for really high notes and pretty much isn't the best. That one in the middle is called a super tweeter. And, okay, these screws are two screws and they're a different color. I totally replaced them. And I only used two, but it's still holding in there well. So, I don't know why I only used two. Probably because I couldn't find the others. And, yeah, my room is that dirty. So, that's why there are only two screws in here. But it's sealing up just as well. And these speakers didn't have a very good seal back when they had like 10 screws holding them together. So, not a very big deal. Unplug those two wires. And this is pretty much for making the tweeters not have as much power going through them. This removes as all one unit, and the speakers just come out. This one has a slightly bigger magnet on the back than this one. And you can see that because the shielding is wider. The magnets aren't as big as the shielding, but the shielding is definitely bigger on one, so that means the magnet's probably bigger. The coil isn't any bigger, but one speaker is definitely going to have more bass than the other, and more power. They're also very similar model numbers, 85-NS6-604-01 and 83-NS8-608-01. So they do have very similar model numbers, by the way. There they are. They were kind of off camera. I should really be turning this like this. Now, those are not the most decent speakers. And then we have the bass speaker that makes up for all that lost bass, pretty much. because those other speakers weren't really meant for bass. But I have used them for full range, though, because they work for full range, and they just, I don't know, they just sound good in full range and bass. They sound good in full range, I should say, and treble. They aren't very good at bass. Sorry. Pretty much, you have this, and that gasket's fallen apart. Let's not worry about that too much. We've got some complex wiring, a capacitor on the woofer. That's actually the tweeter capacitor, because it goes like in through here, and it goes out through here to the tweeters. That's a very weird design. And you can see on here the magnet might look weird. The reason why that is pretty much that is a partial shielding of the magnet. It doesn't work too well. And that magnet on there, the top magnet, is the only thing producing sound. And that is pretty much, that's what you would expect in a 2-inch speaker, not a 6-inch speaker. I was going to say 5 inches, a 6-inch speaker. So that magnet is absolutely horrible. That is not going to produce sound very well. It does sound good on the bass EQ. It's not overdriving them at all. But that's the only way they sound good, is bass EQ on the amp. They do sound absolutely amazing on the bass EQ, though. They're just speakers from a little mini stereo system, so you wouldn't really expect a lot, because they're original. Again, a similar model number, 85NS6602. Okay, I don't have to say that all. These are all genuine AWA speakers. Is that even how you pronounce AWA? I don't know. AWA is a very hard name to pronounce, and I don't know if I've pronounced it right. So, just pretty much that's all there is to this speaker. And yeah, there's the super tweeter. I forgot to tell you about this. It's for producing frequencies higher than the human range. And it's not really, it's really quiet too. It doesn't really make it any more high definition, even though it kind of sounds like it would. And it's not really important. Anyhow, that's pretty much it for what's inside of this stuff. And I know it's not a lot, but it's just simple. It's not the best. Anyhow, thanks for watching. See you next time in the next video.